Hey everyone, Travis from Hoppy Trails here. Instead of some clips at the beginning, I wanted to take this opportunity once again to thank Julio for having us out the Lefty's Tap Room up in Sacramento, where we recorded live on the scene, and you'll know all of that if you listen to the last episode. If you haven't listened to the last episode, I don't know what you're doing. Pause, go back, listen to it. We really had a blast, ate some great food, drank some good beer. Julio and everyone there were just amazing hosts. So once again, thank you so much for having us. Everyone, if you are in the Sacramento area, get over there, eat some food, drink some beer, say hello. Everyone there is really amazingly friendly. You'll be glad you did.
Oh, we'll stay out late to gastrate and hang out with our friends. We'll share a few good microbrews, the good times never end. From seaside to the mountains, we'll travel many lands. Eateth of their pub cuisine and hear their local bands. We'll drink it from a bottle, in a can, or what's on tap. We'll rate each brew as we do with fairness and a map. Spirits are up, we'll fill our cup, the wind is in our sails. We'll drunkenly mix metaphors and travel hoppy trails.
Welcome back to Hoppy Trails, a show where we go out on the road, we take you with us, but every now and again it's nice to be back home, back in our warm, comfortable cabins here, reminiscing about the trips we've been on and the adventures we've had.
Home sweet home.
Home sweet home.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Travis, and this week we are back from a trip that we just took. Everyone, if you listened to the last episode, you know where we were.
You better have.
Yeah, you better have. That's right. If this is a surprise to you, put this on pause and go back and listen. Yeah, so we were up at Lefty's Pub in Sacramento with our good friend Julio.
Indulging some beers, many bears, some barbecue,
Many beers.
some excellent barbecue. And I'll add it was a proper wood smoked barbecue. And we had a really
and Julio
good time.
did not let you forget it. He did not.
No. But a good time was had by all.
Yes.
Can't wait to go back and do it again though.
Yeah, and I would say everyone get up there, but Julio gave us an open bar, and with the amount of food that we ate and beers that we drank, I think Julio may be out of business. So R.I.P. to Julio and Lefty's Pub. And no, I'm just kidding. Definitely get up there and check it out. It was really a blast.
Absolutely.
Well, let's start this one off by giving a little shout out to our patrons here. Obviously our number one first patron ever, who you hear on our trail reports all the time. Billy, absolutely love you and love having you with us. And who's our top dollar patron? Carlos coming through with that top dollar. Absolutely. Love the contributions. We really appreciate it. Then, of course, we have, other Jared out in New Zealand, and we have listener Robert H., who was in Tennessee. Now he's in North Carolina. He's moving all around, trying different beers for us. So we'll have to hit everybody on that Hoppy Trail.
We got a lot of traveling to do. But
Yes,
it's all
we
good.
do.
I welcome it.
Yes. And listen, everybody, if you're not a patron yet, please definitely consider tossing us a couple of bucks. We've got these beautiful hats. These are going to be going out to our patrons probably this coming week or two here. So you want one of these hats, you know how to do it. Go to patreon.com, throw us a couple of bucks. We get some bonus material, things like that, and a lot more coming for patrons.
You get to directly interact with us on Discord.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. And you can just even private message us too,
It's true.
I'm not much of a talkative person outside of this, but I won't make it too socially awkward.
Yeah, the two places that Huey comes to life are here on this show and on the Discord. So be a part of it. Well, Nick, why don't we start off as we often do with what we're drinking? I see a can over there. What do you got, my brother?
I've got this Luna de Miel from Urban Roots.
Yes.
The Mexican lager.
Yes.
Amber lager. Excuse me. Amber lager.
There you go.
I feel like I've had this before, but I know that we picked it up when we went to get some of that bok chicken in Sacramento that evening.
Yes, that's right.
So I think we ended up picking up this can there.
And amber lager. It sounds like a contradiction, doesn't it? Right? Is it an amber? Is it a lager? But no, it's both.
It's both.
Yeah,
and you can be both.
You can be whatever you want to be.
Because I love ambers.
Yeah,
and I love lagers.
It's
Maybe
true.
Lagers
Anyone
a little
that
bit
knows
more
Nick,
than ambers.
He loves ambers and lagers. All right, I see that going into the glass there. And what glass do you have there, Nick?
This is one of those can style glasses. Oh gosh, Oh, perfect. That I picked up from Untapped, their
Nice.
store, many years ago. They may still have them available, but they offer glassware and everything, and it's got this unique kind of pattern with all kinds of like kegs and bottles and taps and fermenters and all that on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had bought a set of 4 at the time because I didn't really have many glasses.
Yeah.
And as a bachelor does. And then now all of a sudden I have so many beer glasses. Sometimes I'm like, I need to really downsize this because it's just the two of us. And like half, more than 60% of them never get used. But
Yeah.
I just need to do the dishes less, I guess.
I'm in that same boat. Every time I go, I try to pick up a pint glass. If they've got one that's unique, I try to get it. And at some point, Stephanie turned to me and she said, "Look, we're adults now. Okay, we need like real adult glassware. We can't have nothing but brewery pint glasses." And I said, "Well, I disagree with you." But
Yeah.
I got overruled. So I've got a
Ah,
I've got a handful of them in the house. The rest are out in the garage waiting for me to get my bar set up. And but then when you come over, we'll have the whole array of glassware. Yeah.
definitely. Maybe I'll just send you some of my glassware.
I'll give it a good home. You know I will.
So, I'll wait to drink until you crack yours open. What do you got?
I'm actually going with a bigger name brand. I'm going with 21st Amendment. Now, I didn't
Okay.
look into their distribution, but Nick, I know you know 21st Amendment, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Who does? Well, I
Yeah.
mean, as long as you're from California, you know.
Exactly. And this is a Back in Black. Okay. This is an American IPA brewed with rich dark malts. This is a black IPA coming at 6.8%, 65 IBUs, which, as we talked about in our deep dive episode, is more than you're finding in a lot of IPAs these days.
Yep.
But, back in the day, 65 on an IPA, nothing fancy, right? That was
Nope.
on the lower end. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Back in Black, 21st Amendment. So let me crack this bad boy right now. Oh yeah. Yeah, I can already see, ooh, I smell that right now. Can already see in the can that it's got kind of that almost a rich kind of caramel head that formed as soon as I cracked it. And I'm pouring into my trusty brewing pint glass here and not pour over my keyboard because I'm known to pour like an asshole when I'm not paying attention. Last thing I need is for
Asshole.
drown my keyboard, right? Oh wow. Oh, that's a beautiful color. Wow.
I'm waiting.
Oh boy. Oh, and look at that. Oh, the foam with all the just micro bubbles. Oh man, this is a good one.
For those of you that have the joy of watching the video version of this, good thing there's a pop filter in front of Travis's face because it would have been real awkward with the sounds that he was making.
Well, I get really into it. So, all right, so here it is. Look at the color there. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
Cheers. And let's see what we've got. Oh yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I'll tell you what, the head on this, it is that kind of thick, foamy that sticks around for a minute.
yeah.
Not a lot of lacing on the glass, and that may actually be my fault because I haven't replaced the salt in the water softener
How
recently, so that
dare
may be
you.
my fault from the washing of the dishes. But you can see that foam is holding up there. It's not
Yeah.
going anywhere. It's forming a nice head, little bit of cascading down, little bit up, and you can really taste those roasty malts, but really in a very light and subdued manner. Aroma, oh man, that aroma is actually really nice. Oh, that's excellent. It's a beer that you feel like is going to be syrupy and then it's not. And it's just really, really nice. I like this.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this too. Mine's like a corn kind of malty corn in a way, like in terms of
Ooh.
because yeah, it's got a nice maltiness to it behind like your typical crispy lager, but it's very maize.
Well, I like the way you said it. Maze. 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 Maze.
It's fantastic, okay?
It's amazing.
But this is nice. I actually shame on me because I had before you got on, I've just been chilling here and everything, and I took the beer out of the fridge and it'd been sitting on the desk, and I wish I left it in the fridge up until right before we started. So it'd be a little bit colder, but it's okay. Despite it being, I mean, it's still, I would say it's probably about like 50, 55 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Good cellar
it's
temperature.
for sure. It drinks amazingly well, like a lager
Yeah.
should at a colder temperature. So
Yeah, excellent. Oh, that's great, man. So I mean, the color on it, it definitely it's got that amberness to it, but not as amber as you'd think because it's still yeah,
yeah,
look at that. Oh, wow, wow, that's a beautiful shot right there. Hey, anybody, if you're just listening, you gotta go check this out on video. That's a beautiful, perfectly clear, wonderful color on that. Oh, man.
guess I'm
Yeah,
gonna
I'll
be
bet
using
that's
this
really
camera going
refreshing.
forward.
Yeah. Oh, man, using the, what's that, the
Woo!
Insta360, Nick?
The Insta 360 X3.
Ooh. Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah, that looks great. That's really good, man. So, nice and crisp. How's the maltiness? Just kinda,
Yeah,
uh
it not in your face.
yeah,
It's not overpowering. The crisp lager. No, this is an excellent beer.
excellent. What's the ABV on that bad boy?
It is 4.8.
4.8.
Yeah, easy.
Crushable.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm digging the logo here. I'm a big fan of Dead Skulls, so it's got some Dead Skull action there.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
But
Yeah, very, Dia de los Muertos vibe going to it.
absolutely. I'm totally digging this beer. I love it.
Excellent.
I'm
I feel like there's, 1 or 2 of those down in my fridge.
Yep, probably. Somebody
Yeah.
should be getting one of those.
And we grabbed those when we went to it was, what, Bach Chicken, right? We got those spicy chicken sandwiches?
Mark? Yep.
And who owns that place?
It's actually owned by Urban Roots. It's an Urban
Er
Roots
that's right.
restaurant. Yeah,
That's right.
because their primary location where they do the brewing as well, they do barbecue there.
Yes.
So we should definitely go check that out as well. We've been there a couple times. It's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, those spicy chicken sandwiches they did, those were outstanding.
Pretty
I
good.
really enjoyed
Yeah.
that. It was a good heat level. What'd we get? We all got the medium, right? The one below the
Yeah.
hot one? Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
think
and
the
it
hot
was
one was basically like a Nashville hot.
yeah. Yeah,
Um,
it was good. We'd had a long day of, eating and drinking at Lefty's and took a little break and thought, "You know, it'd be great, some spicy chicken sandwiches," and, man, they hit the
yeah,
spot. They really did.
absolutely. Yeah,
That
definitely.
cornbread, ooh,
Mhm. Oh
yeah.
man, yeah, that cornbread was damn good. Whew.
Yes. Oh, what was that place that we went to breakfast, Nick?
Butter and bacon? Something like
Butter and
that?
Bacon, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh,
And that
what a
was a
cool spot.
long wait. That was a
Yes, it
long it
was.
was like an hour wait, but
It
honestly, that
was.
was totally worth it.
It
Like,
really was.
they
They had a good variety on their menu.
a very like it's not a large breakfast menu by any means, but each item is so like I just felt was very creative and unique
Yeah.
and just a lot of flavor combinations for breakfast that you wouldn't usually think of.
Yeah.
And yeah, they knocked it out of the park. Their homemade biscuits, their donut
Yes.
holes, which I'm pretty sure the donut holes are made using biscuit dough.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, everything was absolutely amazing there. Like I said,
Yeah.
totally worth the hour wait. If you live in the Sacramento area or you're driving through, go get yourself some breakfast at butter and bacon.
Yeah.
Or is it bacon and butter? I don't know. Bacon and butter,
Yeah.
butter and bacon. Either way, amazing place, amazing food. I think there might be even a few other locations in the area. Really, really good breakfast.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. And filling, huge portions. I
Huge
know
portions.
I
We
got
all
the,
left with to-go boxes.
oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. Every single person left with a full lunch, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what have you been up to recently, my man? I know you've been kind of all over the place. You hit a bunch of different things.
Yeah, so, we got back home from Sacramento a couple weeks ago. So, weekend before this past one, we did the Great Pumpkin Run up in Corvallis. We did a 5K. We don't run, we just walk it.
Yeah.
And those are always fun. It was out at the Benton County Fairgrounds and sent you up in the hills on kind of some paths, and then you're walking along a road. But that was pretty cool. And then the next day we went out to we hadn't been on a motorcycle in a while, so we went on a ride. We found a place up in Independence, Oregon, called Parallel 45 Brewing.
Yeah.
Um, called that because not too further north, I would say probably about 20 minutes north from where it's at, is the 45th parallel, which is basically the halfway point between the North Pole and the equator.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea. Yeah, you were saying parallel 45, and I'm like, I wonder where they got that name from, but I mean, it's
Yeah.
right there, 45th
Like
parallel.
if you driving north through Salem, just as you're it's basically very north Salem, just as you're leaving Salem, right on I-5, there's a sign that says you're crossing the 45th parallel.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
very cool, very cool.
But no, parallel 45. I'm so glad we went. Such a great brewery, little place, but I feel like their operations at least probably around like a 5 barrel, maybe I don't know, somewhere in the 5 to 10 barrel range.
Yeah,
They had a quite a few large fermenters there. Amazing beers and amazing beer names, utilizing kind of some pop culture references, especially some stuff
yeah,
that goes like way back. First beer that I had there, which was a cold IPA with fresh hop. And I can't remember which hop now, but that one was called King of Auto Parts. And that's a reference back to the movie Tommy Boy. with
Tommy
Chris
Boy,
Farley. Yeah.
absolutely, yes,
That one was I mean, honestly I've never had a fresh hop IPA that I've been disappointed with.
yeah,
Because when they brew it with just like as the name implies, those fresh hops.
yeah.
And you have it just shortly after it being brewed. It's so amazing.
You know,
Um,
here's something I think a lot of people don't realize is when you pick hops, the clock is ticking.
yeah,
You either get those into a kettle immediately or you start drying them immediately
yeah,
because the way the cones are with it's like a lot of little petals that form that cone, and there's a lot of moisture and there's a lot of places for mold spores and things like that to get in there.
for
So
sure.
if you don't do something with them immediately, within a day, maybe 2 days, they're starting to mold up, and
Yep.
it's so yeah, fresh hop is literally someone's picking it, they're throwing it in a truck, and they're running it to the brewery as quick as they can.
Yeah.
That's how
TikTok.
fresh hop is. Yeah.
Hell yeah. So no, that was that. The next one I had was another Mexican lager, but just no amber, just a Mexican lager. That name was also pretty funny. It's called Cerveza.
Cerveza, I don't know the reference on that one, brother.
Well, I mean, so cerveza is
Uh-huh.
Spanish for beer.
Sure.
This one is spelled SIR space VAY space SUH. Cerveza. So basically, it's the white people phonetics for
Make
cerveza,
making it easy for people to pronounce
right?
it. Yeah.
Right. That was a delicious Mexican lager. I Man, I haven't had a michelada in a while. It's been too long. But
Yeah.
anyways, was another one. Cones of Dunkelshire. It was a Dunkel lager.
Nice.
Cones of Dunkelshire is a reference to I know that you never watched that show, but Parks and Recreation. One of the characters, he designs this elaborate RPG game called the Cones of Dunshire.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I've seen a handful of episodes. That the problem is this. Steph and I and everybody really loved The Office, right?
Yeah.
And so, then The Office started having some changes and like that, and then it was gone. And so the Parks and Rec kind of picked up and everybody really jumped into it. And we started watching it. And I think Steph wasn't ready to let go of The Office yet. And so she was
Yeah.
like, "This is just trying to replace The Office, and you're not my real dad," and like all of that. And so, and so we couldn't get into it. So a handful of times, if Steph went to bed before me, I would watch some of the, Parks and Rec. But then you know how it is. It starts getting late. You're laying on the couch. You fall asleep.
Sleep.
You wake
Yeah,
up. It's 3 episodes later, and it kind of
for
fucks the
sure.
whole thing up for you. But what
Totally.
can you do?
Totally. No, it's one of my favorite shows. I love it. And they even had a past beer with another Parks and Rec reference called Little Sebastian, which is the mini horse that everybody on the show, everybody loved in the town. He was like a real popular character and everything. But
Yeah.
yeah. So anyways, that was a great Dunkel. Man, I've just been on a lager kick lately. Another good one, which the hazy was the Dagobah Haze, a reference back to Star Wars.
Yeah.
But no, it was such a great brewery. We sat at the bar. The wonderful lady beer tender. I think her name was it Carol? She used to live down the street from Lefties.
No kidding.
Right? Small world.
Very small world.
Yeah. And then right as we were a few minutes before we left there, another small world thing is our wedding coordinator had showed up with her husband.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, that place, Parallel 45, we can't wait to go back. They had a huge variety on tap.
Yeah.
Which I love that they just anybody who comes in and they're, whether you're new to beer and you're unsure what you're gonna, they have a little something for everybody. It was awesome. And then they also, because they have the beer name boards, they're like the hanging boards that they, custom chalk out and everything like that. But
Yeah.
they end up, once the beer's out, they end up retiring them up higher up on the wall. And
Oh,
you
yeah.
can see that they've even previously they have had at least, or have done at least 35, 40 different beers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But really cool spot. And not even thinking about it, because usually when we go ride somewhere that has to do with beer, we also make sure it has food, but this time we didn't. And we're like, oh no food. But then, because it was a Sunday, we didn't think anybody or anything like within, a 2-minute walk was open.
Yeah.
And but lo and behold, there was a pizza truck behind the brewery. Man, that was a great decision. New York Squares Pizza. They're a square Sicilian style on like a focaccia crust.
Yes.
Yeah, dude. Oh man, that pizza is money. I got to talking with that guy. Him and his wife just moved out here from New York a year ago, and they just started this pizza truck in July.
Oh,
And
wow. So
so
brand new. Really brand new. Yeah.
yeah. But man, are they cranking out some amazing pizzas. That
Yeah, you sent a couple of pictures and then we started following them on the Instagram there
Yep.
and we're seeing them post some stuff up. It looks like some really good stuff.
Yeah. And I think this past week they partnered up with a local barbecue spot, and they did barbecue chicken pizza.
Ooh,
Which,
nice.
yeah, that looked really good. So yeah, thankfully Independence isn't too far from us. It still takes about maybe 45 minutes or so to an hour to get up there, but
Yeah.
it's all countryside driving, so it's it's
Yeah.
all beautiful. But
So the Sicilian style, that's you said it's on the focaccia bread.
yes,
That's
yeah,
great. So just kind of that fluffy, a little bit chewy, but really just kind of airy,
yes,
but thick and bready and nice.
yes,
Oh, that sounds
lots
good.
of flavor. Usually crust. I've never been a huge crust person. I'll obviously eat pizza, but usually if it's like a thick outer crust, I'm leaving it behind on the plate.
Sure.
But especially these square pan style pizzas.
Yeah.
I love that because there's not much of an outer crust to it. It's just all part of it. Most of the crust is all underneath,
Yeah.
but they are so damn good. I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, it's funny. Nick, I think I used to work at a Round Table Pizza back in the day up in Chico, California. And man, it was, the people that ran that one, they were really took pride in the like, look, this is the standards we have. Look, anytime you get franchises, there's the ones that are going to be on point, on the money, and the ones that don't care as much and maybe less oversight.
Yeah.
This round table was on point, on the money. I mean, it was go, go, go. And, look, toppings to the edge of the crust, toppings to the edge of the crust every single time. And
Hell
it
yeah,
was,
man.
that's the way to do it. You don't need a bunch of bread at the end. Toppings
Yeah,
all the way across that pizza. And I think that's the way to do it. You don't need
for
a
sure.
handle, just grab that thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about the toppings, man.
Yes, it is. It's what we're here for.
And I was considering bringing something up real quick, but I ain't about to start that war right now.
Uh-oh.
I was just gonna throw it out there. Maybe I like pineapple on my pizza.
I like pineapple on my pizza too.
Yeah. So all the pineapple pizza haters, ain't got
You
time
know
for
what?
that. Nobody
Here's the
got time
deal.
for that.
Certain number of people just stopped listening. We lost them forever. I say good riddance. Good riddance. pineapple on pizza, there's nothing wrong with it. Get yourself a Hawaiian pizza. You're going to have a good time. And if you're unhappy with it, man, I don't know. There's something wrong in your life. Maybe you need to do some introspection.
Dude, especially like, what's the place in San Jose? Bebo's Pizza.
Yeah.
They do their Hawaiian pizza, or it's called like the sweet pig or something, spicy pig or something like
Yeah.
that. Where it's pineapple and chorizo and jalapeno slices.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now. Who doesn't want that? You don't want that just because it's pineapple on a pizza and you made a rule? Get out of here.
The pineapple
outta
is
here.
necessary there.
Yes, it
It's
is.
absolutely necessary. It balances out the spice from the jalapeno and the chorizo
That's right.
and the saltiness, and it's just absolutely perfect.
Little
Almost
sweet,
tear-
little touch of acid in there. Why
almost
not,
teared
man?
up there.
Balance it out. Yeah, man. No, I'm a big fan. For a long time, that was the only pizza I got was Hawaiian pizza. And no, I love it. I'm in favor. I'm in favor
For
of it.
sure. But no, New York Squares Pizza, man. Such a awesome couple, Mike and I think her name was Juby. Such great folks, just making pizzas fresh to order right there on that trailer.
Nice.
So damn good. And props to them, like, you know, moving out here and then less than a year after moving out here, you know, starting up your food trailer and everything. That's rad.
Yeah. Oh man, that's the whole, you know, I mean, really taking that leap, right? We're gonna
For sure.
move, we're gonna start a thing, we're gonna bring a unique food, like it's pizza, yeah, but it's a unique twist on it, and let's see where it goes. I love it. I love the passion. I love people taking that risk.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Excellent.
So yeah, and let's see here. So that was a fun-filled Sunday. And then fast forward to just this past weekend, Saturday, we went to Two Towns Cider. So they're a cider company based out of
Yes.
Corvallis, just north of us. And every year they have their harvest festival at their production facility, and they've got, you know, multiple bars serving what, you know, all their different ciders and everything. They've got a band stage, they've got DJ, they've got a whole bunch of food trucks and everything going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that was we had that was a small cider marathon. I think we probably had at least about 8 to 10 different ciders out of the freaking 30 that they had.
Oh wow.
It was just so much. But the ones that I truly appreciated are obviously their specialty ciders. So the one of them called the Nice and Neat, which is a collaboration with Rogue Whiskey. They took Northwest apples and warming spices and aged it in the Rogue Dead Guy whiskey barrels.
Oh, beautiful.
Obviously, as with, you know, any ale, if you age it in whiskey barrels, it's going to impart an additional alcohol content. And this particular cider was 11%.
11%.
Right? I'm glad that
11%.
they limit when you go in, they give you these 8-ounce little cups. So thankfully it was just 8 ounces because yeah, dude, it was dangerous. You wouldn't even know it was 11%. It drank like it was 3 or 4%.
Oh, that's outstanding.
Yeah.
Was it a little bit sweet? Was it dry? What do you think?
It was more on the sweeter side. But with the, you know, kind of your typical fall spices, some kind of, you know, cinnamon and coriander and like your bold wine spices and everything. So
yeah.
And surprisingly, you know, you would think it being aged in a whiskey barrel, that it would have like a strong whiskey or oakiness to it. And it didn't. It was actually pretty mellow.
Yeah, you know, that's actually something that I've found with Rogue's Dead Guy whiskey is that it's really mellow. It really is. And let me see, back in the day, I had a bottle that they were aging out on barges, right? So it was a 1-year age, but that 1 year it spent in barrels on a barge.
Yeah,
So the
I still
movement of
have
the
one of those.
ocean kind of accelerates the maturing process. And you know, you think this is a 1-year whiskey. It's gonna have some bite. It's gonna be real green. It's gonna be real woody from that oak. And it just wasn't. They're doing a really good job of just producing in a short time, just really mellow, nice, mild whiskey. So I would imagine that barrel then imparted just a great smoothness onto that cider.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it was perfect. Like I said, it drank so easily. Yeah, I would be in deep trouble if I had a few of those in an afternoon.
And you know, Rogue, interesting thing about them. So they're a brewery, also a distillery, which as we've talked about before, like, hey, you know, you get master brewers in there making the grain bill for some of these whiskeys. I think we're going to get some unique stuff, which I think we see.
Yep.
But they also make all of their own cooperage. So they're making all of their own barrels there. They don't buy barrels, they make them on site, which I thought was really cool also.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Where was that the Newport location that you went to?
What with Rogue?
With Rogue? Yeah.
Haven't been to their location.
Oh,
No,
okay. Oh, okay.
I got a hold of that bottle of whiskey that I can't remember where I got it, but it was a limited release and got it shipped to me. Yeah, and that was years ago.
I still have like maybe half a bottle of it left.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's really good stuff.
It's really
Yeah.
good. But yeah, so there was that one. There was another one. I guess they do it every year based on the name. This was the 13th anniversary cider, which it's made from 13 different apple varieties and
Oh, wow.
unfiltered. Yeah, that one was crazy. Just drinking the juice of 13 different apples was it was a lot of flavors going on.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Definitely more on the not crazy dry, but if you know, between sweet and dry, it's definitely leaning a bit towards dry.
Yeah.
But no, that was a really good one as well. Let's see here. There was the Westward Whiskey Bad Apple. So it was made with bad apple cider, the bad apple cider, and aged in Westward whiskey oak barrels.
Nice.
And that, where is it? The bad apple is a cider that they make that's made with local meadow foam honey and aged
Ooh.
on Oregon white oak.
Oh, very nice.
Yes. That's also a dangerous one because it's 10.5% and drinks relatively
yes.
smooth.
It's so crazy because generally speaking, you know, if you make just a straight cider, it's gonna come in anywhere from 4 to 6% depending on the sugar content of your apples.
Yeah.
When I make it from apple juice from apples from Gizditch, I generally that'll come off 8 to 9%, usually closer to 8, and that's really high because the sugar content in those apples is ridiculous from Gizditch Ranch.
Yep.
But yeah, to get up into 10, 11, something like that, that's I'm shocked that they're able to do that. Those have to be some just ridiculously sweet apples with a ton of sugar in them. That's amazing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was a couple other ones here? Oh, or did we have that? No, I don't think we had a chance to get it. They were offering a lavender and honey lemonade.
Ooh, that sounds nice.
Man, they had some really good ones going on. They had another one. I feel like it was an ode to Mac Dre. It's called Mac Dry.
Nice.
Dry cider made with Macintosh apples. Granted, it was made with Macintosh apples, but I mean, really, it's like Mac Dry. It's come on, it's Mac.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Look, whether they intended it or not, it's an ode to Mac Dre. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But no, that was a good time as well on Saturday. So it was a lot of really good cider. But I'm glad that we had a chance to go to that.
Oh, amazing. That's really cool. And so they do that every year, which is well, I guess around harvest time.
Yep. Yeah. Because basically, you know, they've just harvested everything. Because usually apples are starting around just the end of September. So I'm assuming though that maybe some of those ones they were probably aged from a year ago. Harvest or 2 years ago. So.
Oh, very nice, very nice. Well, we're gonna have to put that on the calendar and see if maybe we can,
if
we can come up and do something with them next year. That sounds like a blast.
Definitely. No, it was a lot of fun. I mean, like it's when it's funny, like when it's just the two of us going to stuff like that. We maybe hang for like, you know, I think this time we were there for like probably about 3 or 4 hours. But if we were to like go with like a group of people, because this thing went from like noon to 9 p.m.
Oh, wow.
And we didn't get there.
That's a really long time for a festival, man.
Yeah, we didn't get there till probably about like 1:30, 1:45. and I think we popped out of there just around 5 or a little after 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, with that amount of cider, like running from 12 to 9, wow. Like, yeah, if you guys come up, we'll just hire somebody to like drive us or something. And
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it's maybe like the production facility where it's at is maybe like 35 minutes north of our house. So
Oh, that's
it's a
perfect.
straight shot. So
Yeah.
but yeah, good time.
Absolutely. That'll be on the calendar. We'll do that next year. And listen, we'll start planning it in advance. And if anybody wants to come join us, absolutely. It sounds like it'll be a great time.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much what we've been doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Hitting all kinds of breweries and cider festivals and everything. It's all nonchalant. Like, so that's,
yeah, so it's just,
basically that's about all we've done. And
yeah, about it.
Action packed, my man.
Right? Very
Yeah.
action packed. Well, I feel like we're rolling up to a good spot here. We take a little break, maybe get some promo action in, some trail reports if we hopefully have some.
I'll tell you what, I know for a fact we've got one from Billy, and
oh yeah,
this one is a video trail report. Yes.
Nice.
So everybody's going to get to see Billy's beautiful face while he tells us about some amazing places. So
excellent.
Yeah, so we'll be right back.
BRB.
You have some time you want to be ready for, or y'all will really
Hey guys, as you know, I am in Lynchburg, Virginia, working on the film Come Back Home, and I have found my way to what has become my favorite restaurant here in Lynchburg, which is Iron and Ale. And I'm here with Vicki. She's going to tell us a little bit about Iron and Ale as a restaurant, and also just the sheer amount of beer that they have available, which is wonderful. And I'm having the Parkway Get Bent tonight. A couple of those. Hey Vicki.
Hi guys, I'm Vicki. I have worked at Iron and Ale for coming up on 4 years now. We've been open a little over 5. A lot of local people from the area that have worked at other successful restaurants decided to come here and do something new. And part of that includes our insane tap list. We try to do a lot of good local beers as well as other popular things. We keep certain things on tap, like the Get Bent, which is a nice local one out of Salem, Virginia, which is about an hour and a half away from here. And then just a lot of really good food. Hopefully you can attest to that.
It's delicious. Had the filet, mashed potatoes, steamed broccoli, of course. It's great.
Right, I don't know what else you want to know from me, but if you want to talk.
We are going to pitch over to Carl, who is the Kyle,
Ready
who's the general manager.
General manager.
Kyle, it's time, man. It's time. Tell us about Iron and Ale. What's so great about it?
Oh, our guest, our random gentleman at the end of the bar we get to meet on Saturday nights. That's what makes it special.
That's right. That's right.
It's
like there's 38 taps. Is that right?
There's 48 taps.
48.
So we've
Okay,
got 24 tap tower downstairs that mirrors the tap tower upstairs, and an additional set of 24 upstairs. So we use 8 of them for our cocktails on tap. So it brings it down to 40 draft beers on tap.
Wow, that's amazing. And I've had 2.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of work to do.
A lot of work to do. Well, how was the steak?
The steak was delicious.
And how was the service?
The beer is amazing. The service is great.
Well, good. We're doing something right.
This is my second visit only.
Yeah?
But I hope to make it back more
Well,
when I'm back in town.
come on by.
Thanks so much.
I appreciate it.
Everybody come on by when you're in Lynchburg. Iron and Ale.
Did you ever get the feeling that there was more to this world than meets the eye?
Ghosts, aliens, age, big feet, interdimensional spirits, cryptids, North Dakota. Well, neither have we.
So come join us as we uncover the true stories and plausible explanations behind famous paranormal urban myths.
From the perspective of skeptics.
But it's funny. We promise it's funny.
So join us in the Least Haunted Podcast, because the only thing that's haunted here is you.
Are you a new parent trying to find your way?
Or are you thinking of becoming a new parent and want to know what to expect?
Or do you not plan on having kids but just want to know what it's like?
Nobody without kids wants to know what it's like.
I'm Travis.
I'm Stephanie.
And we have just the show for you.
You, Me, and Squee is a new podcast where we explore the challenges of being new parents and everything we learn along the way. We'll talk about our experiences, different parenting philosophies and trends, giving our own perspectives, and talking about what worked for us and what didn't.
Let's face it, a lot has changed since our parents and grandparents were raising kids. So we're all kind of figuring out this new frontier for ourselves, and it can feel pretty lonely. So come join us for the journey where sometimes we'll laugh, sometimes we'll cry, but we'll always be real with you.
You, Me, and Squee. It beats listening to your childless aunt give her 2 cents.
Or any of your aunts, really.
Drunken mix metaphors and shallow Hoppy Trails.
All right, welcome back, and that was an outstanding trail report from Billy. Billy, thank you. We always appreciate you sending those in, and now especially this video one. Sounds like a really cool spot, and absolutely, Nick, we're gonna have to make our way out there. There's so many places Billy's told us about that we really have to check out.
Yes, I've been wanting to go out there and visit even before we knew Billy. So
Yeah.
now I absolutely have to go.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Places that we've always thought about going. Now that we've got Billy out there, we're really motivated, and we're gonna make that trip. Well, Nick, you know what really grinds my gear? No, I'm just kidding.
Please do.
I was out this last weekend. We went to a pumpkin patch that we thought, oh, this will be fun. We'll meet some family. We'll get some pumpkins and what have you.
Was it
And we
Spina
get out
Farms?
Yes, it was. Okay, so you've
Dude,
heard of this.
Everybody's been to Spina Farms.
This was my first time ever.
Okay.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's insane. It's nuts. We go driving out there, and I'm like, you're driving through the corn on your way in, and there are so many different things. A corn maze. There's obviously a giant pumpkin patch. There's a hay ride. There's a train. There's all kinds of. You know what they were missing? I'll tell you what, is a beer garden.
Yeah. Why not put a beer garden in the middle of the corn maze?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. Find your way in, find your way out.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. We went and did that. Blew my mind. I had no idea that was there. Had a blast. And then on the way back down south, because that's up, that's South San Jose, northern.
Yeah,
Morgan
Coyote
Hill.
area.
Yeah, exactly.
Santa Teresa and Bailey. Yeah.
Exactly. So we leave there. We start heading south, and I thought, well, we'll find a brewery down there, and we had a couple of family members coming with us, and I said, look, worst case scenario, we go to Promised Land. And when I said worst case scenario, I didn't mean because there's anything wrong with Promised Land. It's amazing, but I just meant I've been there before. So worst case scenario, I go back to a place I really like that I've been before. Best case, I find a new place I haven't been to before.
Yeah.
And luckily, as we were going, we found a place called Settle Down, and
Settle Down.
we get in there, we park. There's some kind of festival going on at the time where it's one of those, you go up and down the main streets, and every store is pouring like a beer or a wine or something like that. So you have your tasting glass, and you stop into like the bank, and you get a little 4-ounce pour at the bank, and then you go here and there and there.
That's how it should be every weekend.
I'm telling you what, I would go to the bank a lot more. Not because I have any money to give them, but I'd go for the pour for sure.
Just go and say hi.
Yeah. So it was packed, but we we went in, and we kind of elbowed our way into a place called Settle Down Brewing, and I go in there, and I'm talking to them, and oh hey here's a sticker, and the beer tender goes, oh I've got one of those right here, and I'm like, what is going on here? Well, it turns out my man
I've been there
Huey
before you.
already been there
Back in May.
Yes. So they had a sticker. They were happy to grab another one. And I generally, when I go into a place, I'll either go in and just pick something because I've got a real I'm feeling a desire for something, or a lot of times I'll say, look, if you were standing where I'm standing right now, what would you be ordering for yourself? And I found that a lot of times you get some interesting stuff that maybe I wouldn't have picked for myself, and it's good. And so I was in there, and the two women behind the bar were actually the wives of the two gentlemen that own and run the place. And so the two gentlemen were obviously pouring for the festival, and so their wives were behind the bar pouring for the regular customers. And I cannot remember her name, unfortunately, because it was just so hectic, so much going on. But she said, "Well, look, I'm not really the beer person. I like wine more myself. I'd rather be at a wine tasting than a beer tasting, but here's one that really speaks to me." And she poured me this one that's on their Malt Shop series, and it's called Flying Fat Elvis. Okay?
Nice. I can already see where this is going.
Yes. And here's how they have it listed. Maiden Voyage malt and YOLO Gold wheat from Admiral Maltings, banana, vanilla, toasted marshmallow, peanut butter, and lactose with a mild tartness. Okay?
That's how Elvis
This is
YOLO'd.
this is a smoothie sour. All right? But it's this light golden color and it's clear. So it's not what you expect from a smoothie beer. It's
Doesn't sound
not
like something I'd expect from a sour beer either.
No, it's really not. So it was this unique combination, and it was really good. It was really good. 5.8%, wasn't too heavy, that kind of light, crisp, clear, but then also the sweetness and like silky on the tongue. It was an amazing beer, and I am really glad that I drank it. 100%. It was outstanding. Had a couple other beers while I was there. They had a hazy, they had a double, they had a single, a couple of things like that I tried. I think I got into their blonde. Also very good. Everything was good. But I know, right? I was like, "Oh, I better get one of these for Nick." Uh, but that Flying Fat Elvis was so unique, and it was a combination I would have never thought of that made a result that you would never expect from a beer, okay? And what I'm gonna talk about right now is an asshole named John Rayu wrote an article for Food and Wine magazine on May 24th of 2017 entitled, "Has the craft beer movement finally gone too far?" Okay? That's the title. And the subline is, "The line between beer and not beer is blurring as craft brewers get inventive and unusual," and then a parenthetical, "and sometimes downright mystifying ingredients. Food and Wine sends a writer on a pint-sized tasting adventure." Okay? Now, this is back in 2017, right? That was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Some things were starting to get adventurous in different directions, but
Yeah.
nowhere near where we are now, right? I
No.
mean, yeah, that was again, there were certain brewers that were out there really kind of pushing the envelope and everything, but very tame compared to what we've got in our varieties today. So, at that time already, has the craft beer movement finally gone too far? Fuck no. Not even close. Not even close,
They
right?
haven't
Talk
even
to me
gone
now,
too far today.
John Rayu. I'd love to walk you around a couple of breweries and blow your brain, right? So he starts off with an example of a beer from a brewery called Wincoop Brewing. Okay. And they're out of Colorado. And they had this commercial that ran, this ad that they ran on, YouTube and what have you, for their Rocky Mountain Oyster Stout with bull testicles. Okay, Rocky Mountain oysters, for those of you that don't know, are
Hell yeah.
fried bull testicles. Get them fresh, slice them up, season them, dust them in a flour and a batter, and you fry them up. They're
Be
delicious.
grossed out, but they are absolutely delicious.
If they weren't good, it wouldn't be a classic Colorado food, right?
Yeah. They're
Yeah.
amazingly good.
So he starts off with this like, "Oh, yeah, how crazy is this? Wincoop out of Colorado, they're brewing a stout with bull testicles. Like, oh my God, what's it?" And he's just like completely shocked about it. Here's the deal, okay? Um, if you watch their video, their promo for it, it ran on April Fools, right? It was an April Fools joke that they did. And if you watch the video, it's clearly a joke. They're being just so like over the top with it. They're like, "Oh, we put it like, show me the freshest testicles. And like, they're really playing it up.
Fried bull testicles or Rocky Mountain oysters are a Colorado favorite.
Wynkoop Brewing Company's Rocky Mountain Oyster Stout is made with organic bull testicles.
We're adding the Rocky Mountain oysters whole into the kettle to give the full flavor and nuances into the beer. These testicles, they're very fresh.
The result of our efforts is a luscious, creamy stout that delivers loads of flavor. Everything from roasted barley and coffee to chocolate and nuts.
Making a Rocky Mountain Oyster Stout. Takes a lot of balls.
Wynkoop Brewing Company's Rocky Mountain Oyster Stout. Available April 1st while supplies last.
Rocky Mountain Oyster Stout. Have a ball.
And it's clear it's a joke,
Freshticles.
right? Very freshticles. But here's what happened. They started getting a lot of publicity about it, and people were going, hey, you should really make that. And so their brewer thought, all right, this is a challenge. I'm going to see if I can incorporate bull testicles into a beer and have it be good, right? And there's a lot of challenges with that because anybody who, especially when you start throwing in adjuncts like peanut butter and stuff like that, one of the things you have to watch out for is protein. And that's something that even when you're not adding a bunch of crazy stuff in, the proteins in your wheat and your malt, you have to watch out for those to begin with. Okay. So you start throwing in,
Raw organs.
It's going to be an issue. So he really had to spend a lot of time coming up with a recipe that was going to be a good drinkable beer. And it turns out he did. He turned out a great beer. Instead of frying them, they roasted them. So they have that roasty flavor. There's a long tradition of the oyster stout, which mostly started off with using oyster shells, right, as like a finning agent.
Yeah.
And then, there were some places that started actually using oysters in there to add kind of a little briny note to it. And so he found a way to make this stout using the roasted bull testicles, not a lot of them, right? It's not like he's throwing in, 100 of these things per bottle. It's a small amount and it adds a roasty flavor to it. And so they ended up doing it. It turned out to be a good beer because they spent the time, they thought it out, and they did it. And it started with a joke. Okay. So this fellow obviously starts with that in his article and, oh, this is crazy. And his whole point is, are some people just doing things just to be extreme and they're not focusing on the beer? And so in order to make his point, he and his friend Alex, who I don't know where he found this guy, guy's also a buffoon, but the two of them, they go buy 4 beers and they sit down and drink them and then they talk about it. Okay.
The bull testicle beer.
They don't even drink that one.
Oh, okay.
They don't even sample that one. After all this, like he makes this big deal, he doesn't even get his hands on one of those. Doesn't even get his hands on the bull testicles.
I'm annoyed, just as annoyed as you are.
If nothing else, he should have started with that one, right? Put your money where your mouth is. So the 4 beers he did is, and this first one, I'm going to just absolutely massacre it. Guzeri Tilken Udguch. Okay. Which is not how you pronounce that. It's not Danish. Even close. It's a lambic with plums from Belgium. Okay. So it's a Belgian lambic. Then they've got Dogfish Head Higher Math, golden ale with cherry and chocolate, right? It's a 17% ABV. Evil Twin Bozo beer, which is also, I think, a 17 something. That's an imperial stout. And then Rogue Beard beer. Okay. Which is fermented with a yeast that they isolated from brewmaster John Meyer's beard. Okay.
Yeah.
Those are the 4 beers they try. And I think he went out of his way to try to, trick you into what their thoughts are going to be. So they start off with the lambic with plums. Lambics are wild fermented. Okay. That's just how they're done. They're wild fermented. Oftentimes fruits are added to them, right? You think of like framboise, and that is the raspberries or what have you. So wild fermenting allows not only wild yeast, but certain types of bacteria, sometimes a lactobacillus, sometimes, Brettanomyces, whatever. And so you're going to get more of the tart flavors and you're going to get sometimes a little bit of funk to it, right? And things like that kind of barnyard funk we talk about all the time.
Yes.
And so they crack this thing open and they start drinking it and they're just like surprised that it's got this sour tart flavor. It's like, well, look, man, just because there's plums in there doesn't mean it's going to be sweet. Fermenting turns the sugar into alcohol. So there's going to be less sugar. It's going to be less sweet. You're going to be left with some of the citric acid that's in fruit, because most fruits have acid in there. You just don't know because of how much sugar there is. And you're going to get a little bit that's created by the bacteria and the wild yeast, right? Now, this is in 2017 that he wrote this article, okay? Yes, a lot of the big cider producers are making some sweet stuff, that mass market, right? But at that time, there were a lot of really good dry and tart ciders out there. It's not like getting one of these drier, more tart beverages was unexpected.
Yeah.
And so it just shows, like, if you are shocked by this, you have no experience in what you're talking about, right? Now, the person that I think of, Mark McTavish. He's got a couple of cider houses, one called Troy out of Sonoma. He's got 101 Cider House out of LA. And his big thing is going and getting all of these apples from orchard up and down California and wild fermenting them. And a lot of times the apples he's looking for, the ones that are not for, they're not hand apples, right? They're not ones you just grab and eat out of your hand. They're not for pies. They are a little bit more tart to begin with. And so that's what he's doing with that wild fermentation. It's slow, and you get these really dry ciders with unique flavors. And that's been going on since, I don't know, 2014 or earlier. So, I mean, these things are out there, okay? Yeah, cider's traditionally sweeter side, as I said. Um, but even the majority of the big ones out there, a lot of them weren't that cloying sweet to begin with. So, should you really be justified by the tartness of this lambic, even if the mainstream ciders are where you've been? Probably not. No, I mean, if you've drank anything other than Bud Light and Heineken in your life, this shouldn't have been a surprise to you. It just really shouldn't have been. So, all right, after he recovered from the shock of this lambic beer, now they get into higher math. Okay, here's how Dogfish Head describes this beer: luscious chocolate cherry birthday cake in liquid form. And it's a 17%.
Sounds good. Sounds like your typical Dogfish Head.
Right? That's not going out on a limb.
Speaking of which, I walked into a liquor store the other day just real quick because they had a sign that said 400 craft beers. And we go in and they only had a few fridges and, not nearly close to 400. But they had Stovepipe 19-ounce can of Dogfish Head 90-minute IPA.
Whoa.
It's like a 9 or 10% beer.
Yes, it is. Yes,
they were
it is.
selling them for $4.
Whoa.
Right?
That's insanity, because I remember when you couldn't get Dogfish Head
Yeah.
at all, let alone the 90-minute.
Yeah.
That was a hard one to get.
Yeah. So dude, but the fact that it's in a 19-ounce can,
yeah,
and for $4 is just incredible now. Like,
oh my goodness.
And I mean, this place isn't that far from Alton Stadium, so like, dude, like that's like the perfect, like, if you park far off from the stadium, dude, you make a quick stop there, dude, you can easily crush down 2 of those on the walk to the stadium.
That's it. Knock those down on the walk, get in there and enjoy the game.
Yeah, you don't even have to buy a beer in the game. You'll be set for the whole game.
And Dogfish Head, man, that's the thing. I remember the first time I had their 90-minute was when I was out in, I must have been in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We were out there visiting some friends, and they've got the drive-through beer. So you drive into this cold shed, tell them what you want, they load them into the back. And so we got a 24 case of bottles of 90-minute, and we went back and we were like, all right, let's, we were gonna party because we were young and drink a bunch of beer and party. And I was like, wow, this is a powerful malty beer, and this is all there. And you start knocking them back, and next thing you know, you wake up on the floor the next day, and you're just like, what in the world happened to me? Well, those beers were a lot stronger.
Yeah, you only remember the first 90 minutes. That's why they call it that.
It's a good name for it, right? So, Dogfish Head strong beers are not unusual.
No.
And when I hear that description, luscious chocolate cherry birthday cake in liquid form, and I see 17% ABV, that makes me think it's going to be similar to a barley wine.
Yep.
It's going to be a little sweeter. It's going to have some fruit, and it's going to maybe have some hints that remind you of brandy a little bit. That's what I'm thinking when I hear that, right? And now, look, you all know me. I make jokes about barley wine, right? Julio was here. We were talking about the Barley Wine Festival. I said barley wine's basically Robitussin. I make jokes, right? Obviously,
Dude,
I don't
barley
think
wine
barley
tastes
wine.
way better than Robitussin.
It does taste better than Robitussin. Obviously, I don't think they're the same thing, but it's funny for a podcast. And honestly, my opinion on barley wines is based on when I was 20 years old and I was buying Bigfoot because it was super high ABV, not because I knew anything about beer. And I drink it not because I liked it and wanted to learn about it and get into it, is because I wanted to drink 12 ounces of a much higher ABV. So yeah, my opinion that I formed at that time was pretty uninformed and ignorant.
Yeah.
But again, that's what I'm thinking when I see this thing. Okay. That's my guess based on their description. Now it doesn't sound like a golden ale. None of that sounds like a golden ale to me, but this is a golden ale. Okay. Dogfish Head, they do some very interesting things.
They
All right.
do.
Here's how this author quotes their description, and then here's what he says. This should have been warning enough to proceed with caution. What why? Why does luscious chocolate cherry birthday cake in liquid form sound like something bad to you that you need to be worried about? Yeah, don't pour it into your head with a funnel. But that sounds like it's going to be delicious. Sip on it. It's 17%.
Yeah, for
No
sure.
problem.
That's a
Sip on it
sippy.
and enjoy that thing. And here's what he says. He looks at the ABV, that's 17%, and he says, well, that's, basically like Night Train Express. He compares it to Night Train Express. Now,
What is Night Train Express?
well, I'll tell you, Nick.
Okay.
Have you heard of Gallo? Gallo Wines?
Yeah.
Gallo now these days tries to be a semi-respectable winery, right?
Okay.
I mean, you could still buy some of their stuff in a gallon jug. It's not top notch. You know what I mean? But it's more respectable than they were when they first started. When they first started out, they wanted to turn out fortified wines. So wine with extra alcohol packed into it. And unfortunately, at that time, they were running these pretty racist ad campaigns. They wanted these things to be high proof, cheap alcohol that they were selling in, you know, um, what do you say? Some marginalized communities. That's what they were
Okay.
doing, right? And Night Train Express was one of those. It was a 17% wine. It wasn't good. It was meant to get you messed up, right? Hit you like a freight train.
Got it. Okay.
That's what he's comparing this to, just based on 17%. It's like Night Train
Is
Express.
this like something like Hypnotic or like the other stuff like that where it was yeah.
Well, Gallo, you may know, is the creator of Boone's Farm
Yes.
and things of that nature. So just,
Wine
shit.
coolers.
Yeah, wine cooler wines that are, just fruit and garbage and alcohol. And
High
so
fructose corn syrup.
yeah, quite a bit. Yeah. Yeah, I mean they're meant to, drink them and get messed up. That's what they're for.
Yeah.
So this is what he's comparing it to. Why? Why are you picking Night Train Express? Why don't you pick literally any port wine?
Right?
Port wines are about the same ABV, right? It's a
Yeah.
wine with fortification. They'll maybe, distill some of the wine and then add that back in to get that ABV up. Why not? Port's been around forever. A lot of respectable wineries are making it. Usually
Mhm.
19 to 20% ABV. That's even higher. But no, he picks this from a very well-respected brewery. Dogfish Head, they've been doing some great stuff for a long time. Lots of awards.
Oh yeah.
But he throws in, he tries to knock it down instead of building it up. Okay.
Disappointing.
So his drinking partner, Alex, comments, smells like Russian black bread. That doesn't even make sense to me.
What the
Russian
hell?
black bread, Borodinsky bread, right? It's a dark brown sourdough rye bread, sweetened with molasses and flavored with caraway and coriander.
Sounds wonderful.
That, first of all, sounds delightful. Does it not?
Yeah.
But it also doesn't even sound like a flavor aroma profile that matches
Right?
luscious chocolate cherry birthday cake in liquid form. It doesn't. The comparisons don't even make sense. What they're doing, and they're saying it with disdain. It's like, first of all, if it did taste or smell like Russian black bread, that's great. That would be a wonderful and admirable thing to try to replicate. So,
Yeah.
they both take a sip and they describe the looks of horror on their face. And, He says it was like having his mouth stuffed with drugstore bonbons steeped in cherry flavored schnapps, right? And his drinking buddy there, Alex, saying it's the worst bottled beverage I've ever tasted, and I'm including sour milk. Get out of here with that. Get out of here with that.
Wow.
It's just being just unreasonably derogatory. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Wow.
There's no need for it. There's no need for that, right?
Well,
And again, I make the jokes about the barley wine, Robitussin and all of that. They're jokes. They're jokes, and we always talk about, look, hey, this is a joke based on experiences I had. But realistically, if we sit down with some barley wines, I'm gonna give them a chance. I'm gonna give them some time, and I'm gonna get into them and give them the respect they deserve, right? You don't
yeah.
just have to jump in and knock stuff down just because. So
Wow.
then they go on to a beer by a brewery called Evil Twin. Okay. I'm not familiar with Evil Twin. I don't know them. My understanding is they've been around for a while and they're making some good beers. That's my understanding.
They're in New York?
I think they are in New York. Yes.
Yeah.
And I've I've seen reference to them. I'm just not familiar with their work, but I understand they've been around for a while and they're doing good stuff, okay? They had one they made called Bozo Beer. Now, I couldn't find a lot of info on it from the brewery themselves, but
Yeah.
the description is out there and there's some reviews and things like that. Here's what we've got. Here's the description. I believe this description is from the brewery, okay? This is a really big beer, and we wanted to put it in small bottles, but the two bozos were so fat they couldn't fit on the label. Enjoy this rich, ridiculous, and screwballish imperial stout with hints of molasses, lactose, chocolate, almond, hazelnut, vanilla bean, cinnamon, oak spiral, chili, marshmallow, muscovado sugar, chestnut, and coffee. Made for bozos.
Wow.
Wow, right? That's a lot of flavors in there.
Yeah.
Wow. But let's break it down, right?
I'll break it down.
You've got 3 kinds of nuts: almond, hazelnut, and chestnut. Okay?
Yeah.
They're unique, certainly. If you were blindfolded and you grabbed one and then the other, you'd know they were different nuts. 100%, right?
For sure.
Then you've got in there vanilla bean, cinnamon, and chocolate, and marshmallow, flavors that commonly are found together and that meld very well together and give each other depth. Okay.
Mhm.
You have molasses and muscovado sugar. And muscovado sugar is a less refined sugar. So it's going to be similar to like a raw sugar,
Like
but closer to brown
turbinado?
sugar, like a turbinado.
Okay.
Exactly. Because it's got a lot of molasses still in the sugar. So molasses and muscovado sugar really not that different, but different. They're just adding a wider spectrum, right, on the same kind of band of light there. So, in the cinnamon, oak spiral, yeah, oakiness. You're gonna get that in a stout. A lot of times we age in oak. And then the chili, that's really not that uncommon. And if it's not in huge amounts, it's gonna add a little bit of smokiness and something like that. Does that sound like a lot of stuff? Yeah, fuck yeah, it sounds like a lot of stuff. But when you look at it that way, you're really looking at 3 categories of thing. And it's a couple of things in each category that aren't really adding such unique flavors that they're competing. They're just widening and adding breadth to the category that they've brought. And you will find beers and desserts and all kinds of stuff that have something from each of those categories in it. So it's really not that crazy when you break it down. Here's what he says: I managed to make my way through a small glass. Alex did not. Then he lists off the ingredients, which, I just read to you. And then he adds, his buddy says, well, and air freshener, candle wax, and Old Spice soap on a rope from 1976. What? Why? Why? What the fuck does that even mean? Old Spice soap on a rope from 1976? Man, that's really specific for somebody who's not old enough to remember 1976 all
Is that
that
even
well.
really a thing?
It may not be.
Like,
It may not be. He may just be making stuff up to be an asshole. Air freshener. What does that mean? Go into the air freshener aisle at any store, and there are 100 different and contrasting aromas in there. Some of them would be great in beer. Some of them would not. What are you even talking about? Just air freshener in general? It doesn't mean anything. It's just being an asshole. Okay?
Yes.
Now, this beer has been on Beer Advocate since 2013. 4 years it's been being reviewed on Beer Advocate before these bozos give it a taste. You see what I did there, Nick? I
Yes.
used the name of the beer and I applied it to these assholes. You see? All right? It's that writing class I took that one time. But so by the time these guys get a hold of it, it's already been being reviewed a bunch of times. For about 4 years. Okay. And here's what you're gonna find when you read the reviews. A lot of chocolate. People commenting on the marshmallow, toasted marshmallow, roasted marshmallow, right? Oakiness and smoke, right? Like I talked about, the oak spiral, the chili, you're gonna get that kind of smoke. Molasses. Those are the things that stand out to people as far as the flavors, because chocolate, when you get vanilla in there, vanilla is in chocolate. And so the vanilla is going to support the chocolate, the marshmallow, right? The oaky. These are the things that are going to stand out, and everything else is going to be supporting. Everyone notes the warmth from the alcohol, of course, but everyone says that it's a well-balanced beer. There's a huge number of flavoring ingredients, but they all say it's very well balanced. Okay. Now, look, if you're not used to drinking a high alcohol beer, you're going to have a hard time approaching this.
Gonna have a bad time.
You're going to have a bad time. You got to work your way up to. You have to know what you're getting into. Yeah, it's going to be rough jumping into a 17% beer.
Yeah.
There's a lot of baggage it's bringing with it that you've got to be prepared for.
That's like
Okay.
never drinking scotch before and like drinking it like it's water.
100%. You don't just jump into a pint glass full of scotch. My God. Mezcal, right?
Yeah.
If you don't know what you're about to do with some mezcal, you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah.
That stuff is smoky in a way that is hard to prepare for.
Smoking in that it's gonna fucking smoke your ass. Like,
Yes, it is. But that's exactly the point. It takes practice. You have to approach it in a reasonable manner. You don't just, you're at your first party. That's exactly it. Little sips, little taster, and know what characters are going to be in there. You don't walk up and just slam down a double shot of mezcal and start talking about how mezcal is the worst thing in the world. Like, no, man, you don't jump into a scotch, slam down a double shot, and just saying how, Pete should never be, and describing it. You don't do it. You take some time and you learn what you're doing. Now, the Rogue Beard Beer, okay? Rogue, as we talked about.
Honestly, at this point, I'm surprised that they're still trying them because they've talked so much trash about them. I'm surprised they have any energy to lift another glass.
I
or
know
even
it, man.
Or another beer. Like,
they're just sitting there flipping through their thesaurus, looking for just different ways to be an asshole. So the Rogue Beard Beer, as I mentioned, right? Rogue Brewing, as you talked about, right? They do their beer, they do their whiskey, they make their own barrels. Sometimes they use the barrels. 2-town cider, oak aged, right?
Yep.
These guys have been doing it a long time. So what they wanted to do was, there have been a few breweries who were trying to identify new yeast strains and isolate them and see what happens. And there's a few breweries who have done it. They've gone out into, this vineyard and just try to collect the wild yeast strains and isolate them and see what they do. And go out to a farm or go here or go there. Or one place in San Francisco went to, a sourdough bread factory and tried to capture some of the yeast in the factory and see how those would do. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's really bad, because not all yeast make stuff that we want to drink. And so at Rogue, they wanted to jump in there and do it too. Now they've got their own proprietary yeast. It's called Pac-Man, okay? And it's just theirs, and they don't sell it or anything like that, and that's what they use for their beers. And so they wanted to try to find something else unique that they could use. And they even went out into their hop yard and all of that, and they weren't having success. And they thought, it would actually be fun. Let's see what yeast there is just living in the beard of our master brewer. Okay? And yeah, why not? Let's see what's in there and try it out. Yeast are everywhere. So they make this beer. and these guys are, oh, I don't know if we can handle it, and oh, this one's gonna be crazy. And I just poured the tiniest bit into a mason jar because I thought that was most appropriate after the hell we've been through. Whatever, these guys are just dramatic as all hell. And then they're completely shocked, and it's a mild ale, and just like nothing really notable, slightly sweet, and then it's reminiscent of a Belgian blonde ale, and they're just shocked and appalled, and none of the funk of a wild fermented beer. Well, yeah, of course not. It's not a wild fermented beer, right? They used yeast that they isolated from a brewer's beard. Okay, it's not yeast they found in an outhouse, for God's sake. You know what yeast a brewer's beard is exposed to a lot? Yeast that's in a goddamn brewery. What do you think's going to be in there predominantly? Is jackasses. And here's the other thing, right? A wild ferment, not only is it wild yeast that are floating around out there just in the air, but it's also bacteria. And a lot of times it's those bacteria, as we always talk about. Lactobacillus, Brettanomyces. Those are the ones really commonly that are adding that funk, that barnyard funk, and those kind of more earthy and different flavors that not everybody's hip to. And that's not what's in here because, again, it's not a wild ferment. They didn't just take whatever yeast and bacteria were in his beard. They isolated the yeast. So there weren't all these crazy bacteria. It was just the yeast. So yeah, you're not going to get a lot of those funky flavors. You're just not. And they made a beer from it, and it turned out really good. And when they were doing some testing on the yeast, they figured out the yeast that was in his beard is a either hybrid or a slight mutation of their Pac-Man yeast, because fucking of course it is. Because their Pac-Man yeast is all in the air in their brewery, so it's going to be the dominant strain in his beard. And it's just their befuddlement of everything, and it's almost frustrating.
Frankly, I find the whole thing a little frustrating because I can't figure it out.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. It's frustrating.
How behind the ball they are in this entire article. Unprepared, shocked at every turn of just the most mundane things if you've ever had a craft beer. So that it ends with this, kind of very forced insight that he had an epiphany or some shit. And it's like, those in the true vanguard of craft brewing are less interested in finding out what they can do with chocolate or habaneros or prairie oysters than they are dedicated to creating beers you'd want a second bottle of. And it's just like, it's so smug. And it's like, yeah, man, there are a bunch of people that are using some crazy ingredients, but you reference the prairie oysters, which again are Rocky Mountain oysters. Go back to that beer and really learn about it. And they used a crazy ingredient that started as a joke and it became a challenge. And they are the vanguard. They're not the ones just doing crazy shit. They are the vanguard of craft brewing because they took it as a challenge to make a good beer, and they made a good beer with it. A beer that you didn't even try, but you used the butt of your joke. You know what I mean? So, all right, so what's this all about? What's this all about other than
what grinds Travis's gears?
Travis is mad at another article. No. Here's the thing, okay? You've got a lot of people who haven't spent time with any of these beers. All right, and they think, oh, craft brewers are just trying to cash in on a trend, and they're just trying crazy things to be crazy without.
I feel like we've talked about this in a previous episode about people's palates maturing as they mature.
Yes. Yeah, that one fellow who wrote the article about triple IPAs or the, end of the world or whatever.
They're the devil.
They're the devil. That's right. They're up there with foosball. And what's really happening is you've got people that reading articles like this, they're not being written by people with experience in craft beer. Okay, this isn't a beer writer. He's not even a food and wine writer. He's not. This guy's a novelist. Everything I've seen in quick references, apparently he writes good novels. I don't know. I haven't read his work, so I don't know. Maybe he's a good writer. He's got a lot of words. He's able to describe things sufficiently, I guess. But by all accounts, he's an excellent novelist, a very good novelist. But he's not a beer writer. And like so many people these days, he just seems to be writing from a position outside to scoff and point his finger at something he doesn't understand. something that he hasn't taken the time to learn about and he doesn't care to, right? Because he's just looking for some quick publicity from other people who also don't know and don't care.
What kind of
And
site
that's what
was
he
this
gets with
on?
this article. This was on Food and Wine, Nick. Food and Wine. Yes, I know.
Well, I'm never going to their website. I didn't say
Look,
again because I've never been to it. But
Nick, you use an ad blocker so they don't get any revenue from you anyway. But I mean, here's what it's about, right? These people taking shots at craft brewing, they're not spending time to learn the beer, okay? And the reason that I got into this and wanted to really delve into it was because of my trip to Settle Down Brewing. And I'm reading this article, and the entire time I'm thinking, fuck, I cannot imagine what this guy would have to say about Fat Flying Elvis.
And
I can't imagine.
how did you come across this article again?
I was doing some homework for an episode, and I was trying to look for some new and interesting things, and this article popped up. And as soon as I started reading it, it clicked with me about this beer, and I thought, I've got to talk about this because literally the entire time I was thinking, I can't imagine what he would say about Fat Flying Elvis. Can't imagine. Peanut butter and marshmallow milkshake sour. This guy would have had a field day, and would have never tried it. Okay. I'll tell you this. I don't know what he would have said. I loved it. I fucking loved that beer. Excellent.
So was it just
I'm glad.
like a dominant peanut butter and banana flavors?
Not dominant.
Oh, okay.
Everything was so balanced and smooth that it was you couldn't grab a hold of a single one of them. It was like an
if
essence.
you drink it though, it's like, oh, that's peanut butter. Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Man,
100%.
I would
Marshmallow with that little tartness to it, and it was
They didn't
just
have
like
it in cans, did they?
no, they did not, my friend.
Oh man.
But you've got it. I'm telling you, ride down tomorrow and taste it, right? But this is it. I'm glad there are brewers out there being creative. Absolutely happy. They're trying wild things. They're working recipes until they feel it's ready for the public, and they're putting it out there. And they're not putting it out there as just some kind of grab for shock. They're putting it out there because they put their heart and soul into it. They believe it's ready for public consumption. And fucking thank goodness they're doing it.
Yeah.
We're getting some good beers out of it.
Absolutely. I feel like, it's not like they're not going to try the beer before they release it for public consumption. I feel like, if it was absolutely not a good beer, they wouldn't release it. At least
It's not free to brew beer, right?
Yeah.
I was talking with Jeff over at Hidden Hills recently about potentially doing a batch over there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna cost you $2,000 for 2 barrels, maybe more than that, right?
Oh yeah.
For 2 barrels. If you're doing it as a fucking joke, that's an expensive joke.
That is an
Nobody's going to do that. And you get bigger, 5 barrels, 15 barrels, something like that.
Yep.
It's not a joke. They're releasing it because it's a good beer and they're proud of it.
Bring on that bowl fresticle.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm here like
it's a beer with balls, Nick.
Yeah. It's a bit nutty.
So that's what got me riled up this last week, Nick.
I'd be enraged too. I'd want to go fucking find a DeLorean and time travel back to, was it 2016? 2017. Send an email to what's his name. Be like, what the fuck is your problem?
You know what I'm going to do? Here's what I'm going to do.
Are you going to invite him on
6 novels?
Please invite him on an episode.
Dude, he's got a novel that's apparently just coming out or just released or something like that.
Oh,
I'm gonna get it. I'm just gonna pull pages out at random.
Hopefully
and
it's not about beer.
Thank goodness it's not about beer. I'm just gonna flip through it and just be like, "Oh, did you hear? Oh, he wrote this. What a dump!" And just flip to the next thing. Oh, can you believe he put these words next to each other, just all out of context?
Come on now, that's not that's not us.
No, that's not what we do.
That's what I do behind the scenes. No.
But what I would love to do, and I'll tell you this quite genuinely, what I'd love to do, actually, and we'll never get an opportunity, is be like, hey man, why don't you come out? Let's meet up in person. Let's grab a couple of beers and let's do like an educational tasting and let's see what we can find about it. And maybe change his mind. Maybe he starts to appreciate some of these things.
Blow his mind.
That's right.
Open up his world. Expand his horizon.
Expand your mind, let your brain unfold.
Is that an actual song?
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, it's by
okay.
these dudes up in Mendocino
Oh,
who
okay.
grow a bunch of weed and make some good music. They're cool dudes.
Of course it is. Yeah.
Yeah, they're Mendo dopers, man. That's
Dude,
what's up.
so you were mentioning Evil Twin Brewing.
Yeah.
And I just went and looked them up real quick, and yes, they are in New York. They're in Queens. And I went to go look at their beers, and I saw one that caught my eye called Inferno.
Inferno.
Yeah, it's a smoked hella lager,
Ooh.
and it's brewed with smoked malts and conditioned on habanero peppers.
Ooh. Yes.
They call it spicy, crispy, zippy.
I'll bet it is, man. I'll bet it is.
But man, I really want to go out here now. Like they have some. I mean, it's obviously it's going to be different for if we ever get a chance to make it out there. But whoo, man, some of these beers here are incredible looking.
Listen, if you're in the New York area and you're able to get a hold of that Inferno, why don't you slide into our DMs and let's see if we can work out some kind of arrangement.
It definitely looks like they offer it in cans. So
well.
Actually, just let's see if they ship across the. Well, oh, got it. We're able to only ship beers to address. Oh,
no.
Womp. They can only ship to New York, Pennsylvania, and DC.
If anybody is in New York, Pennsylvania, or DC, and you can get that, and somehow it finds its way to us,
We will make it worth your while.
please believe we will send a couple of things, including a Pliny the Elder, which we know is like gold anywhere outside of California.
Yeah,
So you let us know.
absolutely.
We'll make it happen for you.
Or whatever other beers that you can get your hands on, especially if you're in the New York area, like KCBC.
Yes.
They got some great beers as well. What's another one? Like, whatever, it slips my mind right now. But
Yeah.
some great beer out there.
Yeah. There's some great beer everywhere. There really is, Nick. Every
Absolutely.
time we travel around, I think we find good beer more often than not. And as our listeners have shown us with our trail reports, even places we've never been, and here and there and everywhere, everybody's making good beer these days. A lot of people putting their passion into it, and I love it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Well, what do you think, Nick? Do we have anything else that we need to go over right now?
I don't think so. I'm a bit tapped out.
Oh,
This
very
old
nice.
this old keg is kicked.
Kicked. It is. It's kicked. That's it. Well, everybody hit us up on what are our socials? Where can they find us?
On the Instagram.
Yeah.
We have a Threads too, but we're not active. Well, I don't know, maybe Travis is, but I don't use Threads. I just use the gram. So
Yeah.
you can find us on Instagram.
Yeah.
And even easier, you can go to hoppytrailspod.com and you can find a link there to our Instagram, various platforms to listen to us. Obviously, you figured out that point already if you're hearing this right now.
If you're hearing
And
this.
a link to our Patreon, should you want to, share your wealth with us.
Yeah. Yeah, get a hat.
Get some swag in return.
Swag.
And you'll also find a link that you want to just reach out to us, say hi, have some questions about beer, or have some insight that you want to provide us. You can do so. Contact at hoppytrailspod.com.
Yeah, shoot us a trail report. We always love those. We love hearing from people, and all of our listeners love those too. Everybody loves hearing about your experiences out on the Hoppy Trail.
Totally.
And look, sometimes I go off a little bit on some of these poor saps who write these terrible articles, and maybe you disagree with me. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Let us know. Send us an email.
Yeah.
I'll
Smack
ignore
up
it.
Travis a bit.
Fuck that. I'm never
Hey.
wrong. No, I'm just kidding. I'm wrong as much as the next guy. And look, I'm always open to learn. So if you disagree, send us your opinion. We're happy to read it.
If you disagree, we'll agree to disagree.
That's right. All right. Well, with that, I think all there is left to do, Nick, is to remind everybody to always say yes to that hoppy ending.
Always say yes.
Cheers.
Cheers.
The preceding podcast was produced by Sequoia Productions, LLC. Copyright 2022. All rights reserved. If you enjoyed this show and you're looking for more, or even if you're looking for something a little different, check out the other amazing shows by Sequoia Productions, wherever you get your podcasts, or on sequoia.com.
Hoppy trails to brew,
until we drink again. Hoppy trails to brew. Keep sharing with your friends. Who cares about which IPA tastes better? ABV are just a couple letters. Hoppy trails to brews until we drink again.
I'm gonna really go into it on this fucking dude and his article.
Right on.
I have to make sure that it doesn't turn into
this article
hey, we
that's
love
5 years old.
breweries, we love beers, we all of this shit. And then every now and again somebody writes an article and fuck that guy and here's what you know what I mean? I gotta find an article that I like for the next time I do it.